Hey, everybody, welcome to True Crime Squad. I'm Christy Brower, here with my sister, co host, and partner in all things crime, Katie Weaver. Hey, Katie,
Hello.
how's it going on this
Oh,
cold and rainy Monday morning?
yeah, it's kind of crappy out there, but good. So much going on in the true crime world. And
Oh, my
I
goodness.
just woke up with a lot of things on my list this morning and hit it hard. And man, for once, I think daylight savings time is not going to completely kick my ass. I'm determined.
That's funny. Well, I don't think the fall one's near as bad as the spring one.
Yeah, true.
We got totally duped in Idaho because there for a while it was being reported on our news that Idaho had finally opted out of daylight savings time.
Yeah,
Well, guess what? That's not true.
yeah.
It's bullshit. We still
We
have to
we
do it.
thought we were done with this nonsense. We were so happy, but here we
Yeah.
are.
I'm so confused about it. I still don't understand because it was being reported as though it was a done deal. Turns
Hmm.
out it isn't. And yeah, we still have to do it. So
Yeah.
I recall even praising the Idaho legislature at one point, which, if you know me, you know I don't do, for actually doing something decent for, their own constituents. And it turns
Yeah.
out, oh, no, they didn't. So,
Praise not
but
deserved.
not at all. But we had so much to share today that we decided to
Yeah.
do a true crime roundup because there are just a lot of stories that need an update, that need
Hmm.
some information shared.
Yeah.
So we are going to get started right off with that. Katie is going to share with us some creepy crime.
Mm. This following case is, I think, the worst nightmare of a lot of visiting nurses. And
Oh
honestly,
my goodness.
our sister has done home health for years, and I have worried about her safety for years for this very reason right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
This guy right here is a violent sex offender
Mm.
who apparently, let's see, let me find the right article here. I had a couple. This is Michael Reese.
Okay.
So, Michael Reese is a violent sex offender who spent most of his life in either under arrest, in halfway houses, and whatnot. He
Mm-hmm.
violently sexually assaulted and nearly killed a woman
Mm.
in a New Haven cemetery when he was 21. So,
Ooh,
this happened in Connecticut. And he went
in a
to prison.
cemetery. Yikes.
Yeah, in a cemetery. He went to prison for 15 years, uh, which, of course, was only a portion of the sentence, but that's what he actually served. Then he was supposed to be transitioning back into the community. Uh, his rap sheet is unbelievable. So again, in when he was 21, he was arrested for the rape and attempted murder, and since then he's been back and forth in and out of prison, in and out of corrective, custody in various ways, and has just recently, finally been moved to this house that is specifically a halfway house for violent sex offenders to start transitioning them back into the community. Now, if all of that just seems like a real fucking oxymoron, I think so too. How? Why?
Right?
Anyway, so we are transitioning him back into the community. Okay,
Yikes.
well, he needed some kind of home health care. And so he had a nurse who was supposed to be there at his house on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. for an appointment that should have lasted 8 minutes. Eight
Ooh,
minutes. This must have been some kind of like wound care or something, or well, or maybe it was
something.
a shot. Who
A
knows? But
shot or
anyway,
something. Yeah.
yeah, something quick. But she didn't see any of her other patients. and wasn't
Mm,
answering her phone, and her family was getting very nervous.
yeah.
And they were pinging her phone at his address. So the police check in with his PO, who says no, his ankle monitor has not been tampered with. He should be there. So they go to the house, and nobody answers the door or responds. So then the PO calls back a few hours later and says, actually, now the ankle monitor has been removed. So they go back to the house. Reese is there trying to sneak out the back door, so they arrest him. He is carrying the nurse's credit cards and debit cards, the key fob to her
Mm.
car, a crack pipe, and a small paring knife.
Oh my God.
And they find her deceased in the basement.
Oh my God.
Why? Why was this agency ever sending a woman alone to a violent sex offender's house?
Right? Anyone alone
Anyone alone.
should not have to go to someone's house like that. That should be a two-person job always.
It, I've heard things from many home health workers that I know over the years that terrify me.
Yeah.
And many houses that I have felt like nobody's safe to go here. No one should
Right.
be going
Right.
here at all. Uh, I understand people need health care, but the risk of somebody's life isn't worth it. That is not right.
No.
But these agencies, they take the patients, they take the responsibility, and they send their employees out there, whether it's safe to do so or not. We've seen it so many times.
Well,
Uh,
and how often does the home health worker even know about the criminal history of this patient?
right. Good
They probably
question.
don't.
A lot of times they probably don't. In this case, she probably did because this was a known halfway house and he had an ankle monitor. But
Sure.
still, that is so terrifying. So he's not actually been charged yet. He's still being listed as a suspect in her murder. So I'm sure those charges will be forthcoming. But of course, he's already in custody because, cutting off his ankle monitor, having a crack pipe, having stolen property, he did violate probation. So he
Oh,
is in custody. So I'm sure they'll take their time to get all their ducks in a row before they fully charge him. But wanted to
but
share
what
that
little
story.
consolation for her family.
Right, right. That does nothing for them. Nothing at all. So, at any rate, lots and lots of love to her family. My God, she didn't deserve this. How horrifying.
Yeah.
But the danger that our healthcare workers are in on a daily, in so many capacities, I think is not really publicly recognized enough. And this is definitely one of those moments. So,
It
yeah.
is.
In fact,
Wow.
this story initially I saw it because my home healthcare worker sister in law shared it, who also is a nurse
Yikes.
that goes in home.
Mm,
Yeah,
terrifying.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, Christy, with that, I'm going to kick it back over to you for a crime news update.
Yes. There are some things going on in the Covenant shooter case that have me concerned, and I want to talk about that. If you recall, this is the case that happened in March of this year, I believe. This was a trans male shooter called Adrian Hale. News everywhere continues to dead name and misgender this person. I'm not going to do that uh, for a lot of reasons. We're going to get to that. But this is Adrian Hale. This is actual footage from the school when the shooting occurred. This was at an elementary school. This was at a
Yeah.
private Presbyterian school. So it was
Yeah.
a school connected to a Presbyterian church. There were 6 victims, 3 teachers and 3 students. The students were 9 years old.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely heartbreaking case. It's hideous in everything that happened. And the things that I'm going to talk about today are in no way meant to minimize what was done because there is no
No.
justification for shooting up an elementary school and shooting children and teachers. There isn't.
No.
But there's some things going on right now in this case that I find really disconcerting. So it's Aiden, not, did I say Adrian? It's Aiden. Sorry, Aiden Hale.
Aiden. Yeah.
Aiden Hale, of course, left behind lots of writings and manifesto-y kinds of stuff like these shooters do.
Yeah.
Um, that those writings have never been released to the public, and that is unusual.
Hmm.
Usually, within a few weeks of a shooting like this information is released.
Yeah.
Well, that is because the parents, the victims, are suing to keep the manifesto from being released. And recently, um, a true crime show. I don't know what to call it because I'm not super familiar with it, nor am I. I'm not a supporter, but it's a show called Louder with Crowder, and this is a like a right wing true crime show, and of course they're dead naming and misgendering this person all over town, which really bothers me. But they managed to get 3 pages of Aiden Hale's supposed manifesto.
Hmm.
We're not going to show it because it's illegal to for them to even have possessed those, let alone to have made them public. I will talk about a little bit about what's in them, but I'm not going to show the actual images because they're in some trouble for having them and for how they got them, which we don't know the
Well,
answer
and
to that yet.
how disrespectful to the families of the victims who are begging for these not to be
Well,
released. Why?
okay, but I don't agree with the parents in this situation. I don't. And we're going to talk about what their stance is, and I get what their stance is, but their stance of course is, don't glorify this person, which I don't think that the manifestos do.
Hmm.
Although we have seen other shooters use them as fodder, and we know that that's the big fear,
Yeah.
is that there will be copycats and using of them. But
They give you a
here's
good
my
peek into their psyche too, though. I mean,
well,
we
they
have to learn
do.
from them.
Well, here's the whole point. Law enforcement will learn from them. Mental health will learn from them. The FBI will learn from them. That will all happen. But do you know who really has the power to prevent these shootings? It's not law enforcement. It's not the FBI. It's not the mental
No.
health community. It is the family and friends of people who are building up to a shooting like this. It is the people who are the closest to these shooters,
Hmm.
the ones that are, building to something right now, because we know they are, because we're, you know, pretty close to 600 mass shootings this year
Hmm.
in 2023. Lay people, regular old people like you and me,
Hmm.
need to know what these manifestos say because we need to know where was all of this coming from. Every one of these shooters have a lead up story that if someone was paying attention or knew what they were looking at could have intervened.
Yeah.
We've seen some good intervention lately.
Hmm.
We've
Yeah.
seen some zero intervention lately, like in Robert Card,
Maine.
but
Yeah.
we've seen some foiled, attacks as
Hmm.
well because people saw what was being said and recognized it for what it was.
Hmm.
But we still seem to be erring on the side of protecting people's privacy, not taking people seriously, not thinking someone would actually do something like that, when in fact it's happening every single day in the United States.
Yeah.
There are systems in place right now, and we can talk about gun laws all we want, which is great. And I'm not going to say I'm against them. I'm not. However, that's not the only solution. And it's not even a solution that we have to wait to get. There is structure in place in the United States right now that if the information got to the right people and the right people actually took it seriously, could foil more and more and more of these shootings. But
Hmm.
the people that have to make the reports are the friends and family members of these shooters.
Yeah.
They are the people who live with them. They're the people on their social media. They're, the kids they grew up with that they stay in contact with.
Hmm.
They're the people they work with. Like when you go back and you look at the history of shooters like Aiden Hale,
Hmm.
there were all kinds of red flags leading up. including a message to an old school friend.
Yeah.
Um, had any of that been identified sooner, we could have identified him
Yeah.
before these shootings happened. And I think that that's what we have to do. We're not getting any help from our government, guys. We're not. They're not doing anything.
Uh-uh.
So we as citizens have to do some things. And one of the things that we have to do is we have to read these hideous manifestos. Not because we like to, not because it's glorifying what they did, but it's because we need to understand where that person has built from
Yeah.
in order to identify it in our own loved ones. And it's a horrible thought to think that your own child or a cousin or a friend from high school would go shoot up an elementary school. It's a terrible thought. But is it
Yeah, of course.
impossible? It is not impossible.
Well, no,
It
because
is
it
not
happens every
impossible at all.
day. Yeah.
It's happening every fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
Aiden Hale was a trans male living at home with very religious parents. Clearly indicates in some of the writings a history of being bullied, a history of you know trying to counter white supremacy,
Mm-hmm.
a history of homophobia in themselves, which is very dangerous for someone who is LGBT.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that can be very dangerous if they are not allowed to be who they are. It can add to their own pathology, as
Sure.
we know. We see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really concerned about it, and I understand what the victims' families. I get where they're coming from. I do. And it used to be that maybe we had the luxury to keep our heads in the sand and not know what these folks wrote
Mm-hmm.
and what led them to where they're coming from. But we don't anymore. We are in absolute crisis in the
Yeah.
United States with these shootings. And if we arm ourselves with knowledge and understanding of how this starts in people and what are the things that they are saying and what are the things that they are doing leading up to something like this, we have the power to seek intervention within law enforcement and mental health. It already exists.
Yeah.
If someone is a risk of harm to others, mental health can get involved, police can get involved. Some states have red flag laws or yellow flag laws. Those all can be enacted based on being a threat to yourself or someone else.
Yeah.
And that information is not actually confidential. You ask any mental health professional, if a client tells you, I'm going to shoot my parents,
Mm-hmm.
that mental health professional has an obligation to report that threat, at least to the parents, if not also to law enforcement.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing is lots of people go, saying, well, I never thought they'd really do this. But then you see the things that they've been saying leading up to a mass shooting, and you realize there are patterns here, guys.
Mm-hmm.
There are all kinds of patterns that these shooters are following in their lives. They have significant trauma. They don't get help for their trauma. They act out violently. They make threats. They seek out weapons, and they're
Mm-hmm.
seeking them out legally
Yeah.
because there's nothing stopping them from buying them in this country. Those are all red flags. Those are
Yeah.
all indicators that someone is building to something,
Mm-hmm.
and the building to something frequently is a mass shooting.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe it is wrong for the Covenant Shooters Manifesto to not be released. The
Mm-hmm.
public has the right, and not just the right, but the obligation to read it. We all need to be reading these things and understanding these things because, guys, we're on our own out here.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear that there is no, I would love for there to be a hotline through the FBI or some federal agency in which you can call and anonymously report someone in your life because
Mm-hmm.
they're making scary statements. They're amassing guns. Their mental health is devolving. And actually have someone give a shit.
Yeah.
Come in and use the laws we have right now
Yeah.
to protect the community. We're not seeing it happen, and so we're going to
No.
have to create it ourselves. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the ways that we create it is we need to read these stories. We need to understand the background of these shooters, and we need to read their manifestos because there are words and language in them that we have seen before and
Mm-hmm.
that you may have heard come out of a loved one's mouth.
Yeah.
And there is a difference between having loyalty to someone that you love and protecting your community from someone who may shoot up an elementary school. And
Entirely.
this is a good example of that, in that keeping this information private helps no one.
Mhm.
I also question why this case, because there are so many mass shootings and generally the shooter's information comes out very quickly.
Right.
Why this case?
Yeah.
This case is
True.
connected to a church. It's a church school. This was an LGBT shooter.
See, I've always had
Good.
suspicions there that maybe there was some abuse that had happened to the shooter while they were at that school.
Right,
This is
some allegations made.
yeah, totally me just throwing out an
Um,
opinion, but yeah.
Now, this shooter was 28,
Hmm.
and this is an elementary school. So if they did go
Right.
there, it was a long time ago.
It
But
was a long
still,
time ago. Yeah.
are there allegations of abuse? If there are, we need to know. We need to
Right.
know. It's not
Right.
an excuse for what they did. It is
No, of
never
course
an
not.
excuse for what they did. But do schools need to understand that the kind of damage that bullying someone with no recourse has over time in their psyche that may build them to do something terrible?
Hmm.
Yeah, schools do need to understand those things. We all need to
Definitely.
understand those things. We cannot, as a populace, intervene if we don't know it's happening. And keeping these kinds of things a secret has been the standard way
Yep.
forever.
Hmm.
That's how we make sure that, nobody knows about allegations. There's no consequences for anyone. That's how it's done.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it does. It troubles me a lot. So this is a huge topic. I can't get into all of it, but this is the Covenant school shooting. This is Aiden Hale. Go look it up. Read about it. Read about the lawsuit. Read about what they found in the manifesto. I'm not going to share it till it's legally released because
Hmm.
I think it's wrong to release things that have not been. Because number one, it's only by private sources that what has been released is in fact
Right.
from Aiden Hale.
Sure.
And so we need it to be verified from the police. We do. We want to be sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I want us to be working as partners with the police, not adversaries in this kind of a situation, because
Sure.
it doesn't help anybody to work against them. It really
No,
doesn't.
not at
The
all.
police want to release this manifesto. They are
Hmm.
being stopped by a judge because
Hmm.
of this lawsuit. And I want you to go read about it, learn about this lawsuit, and see why maybe this is really problematic that this information isn't released. We need to know what led Aiden to this point,
Hmm.
because there are a lot of red flags in their past
Yeah.
that indicate to me that these are things that our communities need to know
Hmm.
if we are to stop these things from happening.
Definitely. Yeah.
So that's my soapbox. I'll get off from it
Okay.
because we're not
I,
we're not
I,
here to do a super long show on this case, but I did just want you to know that that's what's going
Mhm.
on. Go read up. You can see, you can read up on the pages that were released. I want to know what your opinion is. I do,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I'm very tired of these things being kept in the dark from the
Hmm.
public, and that's what true crime does. Is
Yeah.
it shines the light on things that have been kept secret.
Hmm.
And secrets do nothing but destroy us as people and as a
Hmm.
society. We got to stop with the secrets.
Secrets keep us sick. Yep,
They do. All right, and with that, Katie, you've got some serial killer news for us.
I do. I don't know if she was initially classified as a serial killer, but I'm officially doing it.
Ah,
We've already covered this person once. This is Heather Pressdee.
ah,
Heather Pressdee was a nurse in Pennsylvania,
mm-hmm.
and earlier this year, she was charged with a few different, well, two murders and an attempted murder. And because she apparently was killing people at their nursing homes and care facilities.
Mm.
And at the time when we covered Heather, we had said, where does this lead? Where else has she worked? What else
Right.
are you going to find? Because what we're finding, of course, is that when people live in nursing homes, a lot of people go to nursing homes essentially to die. And so
Right.
when people die in a nursing home, that's not usually suspicious. That typically is like, okay, well, understood, you know. But
Right.
Heather just had a really high rate of people dying. She worked at a whole bunch of different facilities, and basically, we're finding that she was killing people in all of them.
Yeah. Wasn't it insulin?
Mostly it was insulin or air embolisms. Yeah. She was usually on the night shift, like the overnight shift, and was in charge of giving people insulin. She was giving all kinds of people insulin, particularly people who didn't require insulin.
Right. Which
And apparently,
is
partway
easily
through the
fatal.
night, yeah, if someone hadn't passed, she would give them more insulin or an air embolism to try to get them to die before shift change. Because if the shift changed, then we had an ailing person, then the next person might, call or call the ambulance, and then maybe there would be some blood work that would indicate that she had done something incorrectly.
Right.
Well, authorities are now holding her responsible for trying to kill 19 patients in her care.
God.
Yeah. So the new charges include 2 counts of first degree murder, 17 counts of attempted murder, and 19 counts of a neglect of a care dependent person.
Wow.
One of the facilities that she worked at, Bel Air Healthcare and Rehabilitation Center, uh, is now reporting that they had multiple employees make complaints to management that they believed that Heather Pressdee was killing people.
Oh my God.
And they said there was no identifiable evidence uncovered to support those claims, except for that people were dying at a way higher rate.
And did they actually look for any evidence? I mean, did they do any autopsies? I mean, come on.
It's hard to imagine that they did.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine that they did. And of course, Bel Air did a small investigation, basically just determined that she was okay. She didn't do anything wrong. She could work. And then she just started transferring over to other agencies. The thing is, nursing homes are typically desperate for nurses. And anybody who's willing
Right.
to pick up a few shifts are probably going to get their foot in the door as long as they're qualified to be there, which Heather was. And
Right.
so she was just kind of bouncing around, knocking people off at various agencies. And
And sadly, this
partly,
is not the only case that's like that,
no,
where
not
she
at
just sort of gets
all.
fobbed off to somebody else,
Hmm.
rather than actual reporting
Yeah,
being done.
yeah.
Man.
So a lot of what's coming out now is because of her own admissions. She is fully cooperating with the police and telling them all kinds of shit. Now, Bel Air made a statement. While we cannot comment extensively about Ms. Bowers, this is one of the people that was killed, her residency at Bel Air, or so, due to privacy laws and pending litigation, our top priority is always to ensure the safety and well being of our residents and to employ qualified and caring staff to deliver our care the residents deserve. Uh, Bel Air, shut the fuck up.
Talk
You
directly off.
guys had a serial killer working for you,
Yeah.
and your staff told you that you had a serial killer working for you, and you didn't do anything. And then she moved on to kill a whole bunch more people and injure a whole bunch more people. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants your stupid statement. Put it
No.
away. At this point, are you kidding me?
Right.
It's just unbelievable.
What could possibly be? That's just such a cover your ass answer.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Oh, and well, and they went on to say some things about how we have stringent hiring regulations in place, and shut up. You
Do you
obviously
now?
do not. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
you do now, but
Right.
this happened on your watch. And then
Mm.
Because of your negligence, she went on and killed a bunch of other people. So let's not. Let's just not right now with your happy little statement. Nobody needs it. So, at any
Mm,
rate, we'll be keeping an eye on this one for sure. This will be, I guess, bouncing through the courts. I'm not so sure that she's not just going to be pleading guilty. We'll find out, but
well, where she's singing now, maybe she will be. I don't know.
maybe she will. Who knows? Initially, there had been some talk when this all first came out that she was, kind of an angel of mercy, or saw herself as an angel of mercy, that was just taking people out that were just suffering, and she just didn't want them to have to suffer anymore. And well, Heather, that's not your decision.
No.
Also, no, that's
Mm-mm.
just not, nobody has the right to take other people's lives out of mercy and compassion unless
No.
that is very specifically your role in a state that allows it and that person has signed off on it. This isn't what that is. This
Right.
was just murder. Just murder.
Wow.
I can only imagine how the families of anybody who has died at any of the nursing homes she worked at, and there was a handful of them, uh, is feeling right now
Right.
about wondering if that was actually true or not. The one family, Marianne Bowers, they said that they were initially told that their loved one that she died from a respiratory thing. And then they came back later and said, no, actually, she was injected with a whole bunch of insulin. Yeah. She didn't need to die. These are
No.
innocent, very vulnerable people. It's
Right.
horrifying to see something
It
like this
is.
happen.
And the
Yeah.
scary part is, if this one's coming out this publicly, how many more are there that are actively working right now?
No, it's just like all the people that Billy Shamir killed. Again,
Right.
they were elderly people, and people didn't take their deaths seriously or look at them
Mm-mm.
as anything other than natural causes because they were old. And in this case, elderly or infirm people that are in a care facility and were not looking
Just
the right
at the
direction.
mercy of
It's
whoever.
unbelievable. So, anyway, sending so much love out to all of the victims' families. I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
Also, Heather Presidy's family, because they're probably just as devastated over all of this and
I would imagine
horrified over
so.
everything that's happened. Yeah, so
Yeah,
awful. Yeah.
very.
So, with that, I am going to turn the mic back to you for some WTF news.
Oh boy, are you. Well, friends, this is just a show of rage. Y'all remember this guy
Ugh.
is Robert Crimo. So if you remember Robert Crimo the third, this guy's son, he is the Highland Park shooter.
Hmm.
We've covered this case quite a bit. He shot up a Fourth of July parade in 2022, and after he was arrested, a lot of things came to light. There had been an incident where Robert had threatened his parents and grandparents. He was going to kill everybody. The police came, they took like 16 knives off from him. They didn't arrest him, though.
No.
They just left him in the care of the loved ones he was going to murder.
Hmm.
And only a few months later, he shot up a parade. Well, what we know now is that after that incident occurred, when the police took all of those knives from him, he wanted to buy some guns. But he was under 21, and in the state that he lived, he could not do that alone without the signature of a parent. So this jackass, his
Hmm.
dad, Robert Crimo, signed off on him
Yeah.
and went
Vouch for this guy.
buy the guns that he then shot up Highland Park.
Hmm.
So Crimo has been facing some charges over this. This has been working its way through the courts. This is an Illinois case, if you're not familiar. And Robert Crimo Jr., who is Crimo the third's son, father, has now worked out a plea deal. And this plea deal is going to piss you off because it infuriated me and Katie this morning. I can't fucking believe this. He has agreed to plead guilty to 7 counts of misdemeanor reckless conduct for helping his son obtain a license to own firearms before the shooting. 7 misdemeanors
Mhm.
for the deaths of innocent human beings that he helped to facilitate. Under the terms of his agreement, he will serve 60 days in jail,
Yep.
2 years probation, and 100 hours of public service.
Mhm. And it doesn't get to be a better sweetheart deal than that.
Yeah. Oh, and this wasn't in 22. This was in 2019. Sorry. There are just so many shootings. It's hard to keep track.
Mhm.
Prosecutors said that Crimo Jr. ignored obvious signs that his son, Crimo III, was capable of violence. As we know, the
Yeah.
family, he threatened to kill the family. The police came, did
Mhm.
nothing but take his dumbass guns. And oh, I'm
Well,
sorry.
and
The shooting
the
was in 22.
videos.
The shooting was in 22. The incident with the family was in 2019.
Okay,
Sorry.
that tracks for me. I was a little
It's
confused
a
there.
lot of
Yeah.
dates to keep track of, but he climbed. If you remember, Robert Crimo III bought
Mhm.
weapons with a permit that his dad signed off on, including a high-powered rifle. And then on the 4th of July 2022, he climbed onto the roof of a building in downtown Highland Park, Illinois, and opened fire on the parade, killing 7 people and wounding many others.
Yeah.
He is still in jail awaiting his trial. But dad, who made it all possible, gets 60 days.
Yeah.
Dad,
Well,
who knew full
before
well
yeah.
that this boy was dangerous, that
Mm.
full well that
The videos.
he, oh, the music videos,
Music videos.
oh, they're
This kid
so
was like a
horrible.
SoundCloud rapper, and he
Yeah,
had music videos of himself acting out school shootings. If
yeah,
they were paying any attention to him at all, they knew how terrifying this kid was.
right.
At all.
I mean, he'd planned to kill his own family, and they
Yeah.
called the police about it, and the police didn't do shit. Oh, they just took his weapons, told the family to get him some help.
Mhm.
Bullshit. I'm so fucking tired of stories
Mhm.
like this. None of this had to happen. That moment was the moment
Yep.
when we need to be able to step in with significant intervention for protection of the public.
Mhm.
Because what's happening right now is nobody is safe. We are not protected anywhere.
No. And that kid should have never, upon ever, been allowed to purchase a gun. Ever.
No. But you know what? They didn't charge him. So he didn't even have a criminal record. Because of course not. Why would you want to, I don't know, protect future people from this guy? It just makes me so fucking mad. But honestly, I wanted Dad to get way more time than this.
Mhm.
We've been covering Ethan Crumbly and
Mhm.
his parents are still sitting in jail awaiting their trials on 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter for the murders
Mhm.
that he committed for with the gun they purchased for him and
Yeah.
knew full well he was a mess and needed help and didn't give it. I, we're starting to see some movement in the right direction, but Robert Crimo Jr. should get a hell of a lot more than 60 days for
Indeed.
the deaths of 7 people.
Yep.
So, as you can tell, I am spicy today. I am pissed. I am sick of this shit. I have had it with all of this shit happening.
Yeah.
And with that, Katie, I'm going to send it back to you for a crime news update.
Yeah. All right. We talked about this case a few months ago. And just last week, one of our dear listeners let us know that there had been some changes. And so here we are. Appreciate you guys, by the way, especially those of you that are in other countries that can key us into stuff that we might not have seen in our news. So thank
For
you
sure.
for the heads up. This is Erin Patterson. Erin Patterson, a few months ago, had hosted a luncheon for her estranged husband's parents and aunt and uncle, and she served beef Wellington. Well, by the day after the luncheon, all four of these elderly people were in the hospital, and within a day, three of them had died. One of them did eventually recover, but it took months. And Initially, their symptoms seemed to be from poisonous mushrooms. Now, she had served beef Wellington, which supposedly had mushrooms in it. She said she bought the mushrooms both from a local grocery store and from a Asian grocery store, and was on the news sobbing. She can't believe this happened, and she feels horrible, and she loved all of these people, and now they're gone, and how could this be? And all the while, this happened, in Australia, sorry, I should have made that clear, but, sh all the while, the police are going, "'Kay, this just does not track." Well, one of her neighbors said, "Uh, heads up, bitch. She is, a well-known mushroom forager." "Really?
Of course she is.
Really?" So people knew. People knew.
Yeah.
Cool. Got it. Understood. People knew. Okay. So
Mm.
people knew that she knew that she knew, you know? She
Well,
knew.
yeah, if you're a mushroom forager, then you know damn well what's poisonous and what isn't.
Yeah, she knew exactly what a death cap mushroom looks like. Death cap mushrooms make up something like 80% of mushroom poisonings.
Right.
Like, this is not rocket science at all. She knew exactly what she was
Mhm.
doing. So, at any rate, Erin has finally now been charged.
Good.
Interestingly, she wasn't just charged with these deaths, though that would be enough. She was charged with 3 counts of murder and 5 counts of attempted murder. Why 5 counts of attempted murder, you ask?
What?
Well, 3 of them relate to her husband when they were still living together, back that go back a year or two of
Oh my
times when
God.
she fed him and he became deathly ill. Yeah,
Oh, what the hell? Well, and she faked some symptoms of her own.
she
She
did.
said
Yep.
she'd been really sick,
hmm
but never went to the hospital.
She
Liar.
also claimed that she fed them to her children as well, but that she had scraped the mushrooms off because they don't like mushrooms. Sure, you did.
Yeah, right.
Sure, Erin, I'm just sure that's true. She and her husband were estranged, and she claims it was amicable. Other people say, no, the hell it was not. Supposedly, this was a reconciliation luncheon for her with his family for the sake of their children. The children were not at the luncheon. They had been taken to the movies, apparently. But no, apparently, Erin, it was just so you could kill everybody.
My God, that is horrifying.
Yeah.
So scary.
hmm
Ugh.
So,
You
at
know,
any
I
rate,
hate mushrooms, and
she's
I'm glad I do. This
right.
this makes me grateful that I don't eat them because I
What
don't
the
like
hell
them.
is this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. There you have it. So obviously, Erin, have the day you deserve. I hope the jail sucks, and
Yeah.
we'll definitely keep
Who knows?
following this one.
Maybe they'll serve you some cream of mushroom soup in there, Erin.
Oh, Erin. Oh boy. Also, I want to say that the grocery store, particularly the Asian grocery store, was like, "Whoa,
Oh, right? Way to implicate completely innocent people in this. What the hell?
yeah, don't bring us into this. We haven't had any issues." And the authorities, it was actually one of the reasons the authorities were like, "Nah, this is really sus," because both the grocery store and the Asian grocery store both went, "Well, we haven't had any complaints or issues," and law enforcement said, "Neither have we." You would think if
You would think.
but he was
They didn't
actually
just have special
selling
ones in
death
the back just
caps.
for her? Like, come on.
Mhm. That, more than just her family would get ill, and also being, an experienced mushroomer and forager, you'd think that, she would have recognized a death cap when she saw one. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, we'll keep following that one and, yeah, keep you abreast of what's going on with it. But in the meantime, Christy, I am gonna turn you over to some, Idaho.
Yeah. We have some sad news coming out of Idaho.
Yeah.
This is Christopher Tapp, and you've heard us talk about Christopher Tapp in the past. Christopher Tapp was wrongly convicted of the murder of Angie Dodge. And he did 21, 22 years in prison
Mhm.
for her murder, uh, and was convicted on a coerced confession.
Mhm.
It was a huge deal here, has been a huge deal.
Mhm.
And he was eventually released early from prison after um, a lot of advocates came forward for him. But, he still lost 20 years.
Yeah.
Um, Last year, his wife was killed in a car
Yeah.
accident. I remember seeing it and thinking that was so sad.
We talked about on the show
Oh,
about
it's
how
only three
sad it
months
was.
ago. I thought it was last
Yeah.
year. No, she only died 3 months ago.
Yeah. This just
He's just,
happened.
he's had such a challenging life. The wrongful conviction for this was in 1997 for the rape and murder of Angie Dodge. Um, he was released from prison in 2017, but wasn't exonerated until 2019 when police actually caught the guy who did it, Brian Drips, who has now pled guilty
Yeah.
to her murder, to her rape and murder. But here's what the family says. It's, I think there's a lot of information we don't know. The family spokesperson said he suffered an accident that resulted in a head injury and he passed away peacefully at a hospital in Las Vegas. And he was only 47 years old.
Wow.
It's a hell of a lot of tragedy for one lifetime.
Mhm.
And, we just want to send our love to Chris's family and friends, to Angie
Yeah.
Dodge's family and friends. Angie Dodge's mother fought for him,
Yeah.
never believed that he had done this.
Yeah.
This was some corrupt police here in Idaho Falls
Mhm.
that put him in prison for that to begin with. And it's very sad to me that it's just like Chris Tapp never had a chance in hell,
Yep.
even after finally being exonerated and getting a settlement from the state of Idaho, and still lost his wife and then his own life at 47.
Yep.
It's really heartbreaking.
It's just
So
wildly unfair. Why is it that
it
some
is,
people just don't seem to have a snowball's chance in hell?
right?
And Chris's poor family, my God, they've been down the road with him in every way.
Oh,
Can you
in every
imagine? I
way.
mean, everything they've been through, and now to lose him. My heart just
His mother
bleeds for
fought
them.
tirelessly to get
Yeah.
him out of prison,
Mhm. Along with Angie
alongside
Dodge's mother.
alongside Carol Dodge, Angie Dodge's
Yeah.
mom. Yeah,
Everyone knew he was not guilty.
I will say this: I'm glad that the world does know he was innocent before he
Absolutely.
went to his grave. But it's just sad. It's just a heartbreaking loss, I think, in this
It is.
community.
It is. For
So all our
sure.
love to the Tapp family, the Dodge family, and everybody else affected by this loss.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that, my friends, is our true crime roundup. It's been a
Yeah.
hell of a Monday, I would say.
That's a big roundup.
That is a big roundup. We'll be back on Tuesday and Wednesday with more episodes. We'll be back with our live stream case updates Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain on YouTube and on our Facebook page.
Mhm.
Just a quick reminder, we just released our merch, guys.
We
I don't
did.
know if you've noticed, but I've been drinking out of my, quite frankly, Judge, it's voluminous mug.
That's
If
right.
you know, you know. This is,
Mhm.
of course, in homage to the virus of the word voluminous that has been through the Lori Vallow and is now extending into the Chad Daybell trial. Also,
Mhm.
I am a big fan of saying that John Pryor, Chad Daybell's attorney, is a real pearl clutcher. And so we did include John Pryor's little string of pearls there on this
You
cup. So it
betcha.
is available along with t shirts, sweatshirts, and tumblers.
Mhm.
So just go to truecrimesquad.com and you can click right there to check out our merch. It helps support us. And if you
Yep.
love what we do and you like, we have some pretty famous catchphrases these days. Of course,
Mhm.
voluminous being one of them.
Yep.
I can't wait for you to see my shirt that says, what does it say? The original resting toad face or
Resting
something.
toad face. Yeah.
Y'all
Mhm.
know resting toad face. I still think we
Mhm.
need a golden vagina one. We just have to figure out how to do it
I
in a way
know.
that
I've
people
sat in
won't be
front of my
terrified to wear
computer
it.
for right? I've sat in front of my computer for long moments staring at a screen trying to decide how do I design a golden vagina? I don't know. I don't know. Ideas are welcome.
Please, yes, if you have ideas, let us know.
Yeah.
But as always, thank you for being here with us. Please stay tuned this week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and leave us a review over on Apple or wherever else you can leave us reviews. It's all much appreciated and supports us in what we do. We
Absolutely.
appreciate you all very much. We love what we do, and we will be back shortly with probably a lot more outrage. You know it. We are the True Crime Squad. Thanks for being here.
Take care.